that stared straight into the eyes of the devil himself.
Oh boy. This is the game everybody wants to see me do. Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric was a part of the larger Sonic Boom spin-off series, with a 3DS game, Sonic Boom Shattered Crystal, and a brand new television series based around this new take on the franchise. Rise of Lyric was advertised to be a prequel to the show, meant to set up the events and characters in this new iteration. The game was going to use the newest iteration of the CryEngine and be an epic story set to introduce this new world. And that's all the information Sega really gave anybody at first. But as fans started to dig up more and more information, we got scared of what the quality of the game was going to be like. There were talks of a mass exodus from Big Red Button that led to key members of the staff not being with a majority of the game's development. Then people who actually used the CryEngine, including members of the game's staff, said that the engine was not at all optimized for the Wii U, and that none of the footage we have seen was actually on the Wii U, instead a custom PC. The game was found to be in development since before the Sega Nintendo exclusivity deal. Since the CryEngine was never meant for the Wii U, there was a chance that it was originally meant for the other next-gen systems like the Xbox One and PS4, which most people believe since those are the more preferred consoles in the West, and that's who Sonic Boom was meant to appeal to. Many members of the staff said they had to rewrite the code to make basic functionality on the Wii U work, such as split screen and gamepad support. And then we found out that there was very little collaboration between the show and the game, which means that their visions for the series were entirely different. This led to a massive tonal shift and last-minute rewrites for the game. So with all the behind-the-scenes problems, how does the game hold up years later? That's what we're here to find out. This is horrible. The game is absolutely horrible. But the fun of it is, we can at least pick apart to find out what exactly makes this as bad as it is. And that's what we're gonna do today. This is Sonic Boom, Rise of Lyric. You are Team Sonic. After a routine attack on Eggman starts to go awry, the team finds themselves escaping to the tomb of Lyric. Also, Shadow is there. After accidentally releasing Lyric, he immediately attempts to destroy Sonic and his friends because of unfinished business. Lyric aims to destroy everything alive and organic and replace it with technology because being alive sucks. Lyric needs to collect the 7 Chaos Emeralds in order to take over the world. What? Oh. Okay. My mistake. Lyric needs to find the 8 Chaos Crystals in order to reawaken some giant robots to destroy everything. It's up to you to gather the Chaos Crystals and stop Lyric from destroying the planet. And this is literally it. This is one of the most basic stories I've ever had to review. And most of that's because the journey for the Chaos Crystals is a majority of the game. It just becomes a standard get-the-thing story with no surprises or structure to the story. It kind of feels like the first Assassin's Creed where it's all just stab the guy and move on to the next target. But the big difference is that at least there's a big twist at the end of Assassin's Creed. Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric ends exactly the way you think it does and takes no major turns in its story. After getting back to the future, the story becomes very generic. Oh yeah, no, don't worry, there is time travel, but we'll get to that. The main theme of this story is teamwork, and everyone acts like Sonic is this lone wolf character, with his story arc revolving around learning to trust and depend on his friends. But that doesn't really work at all, since we see Sonic working well as a team with his friends from the very beginning. The idea of Sonic being this lone wolf character is only something that happens in Lyrics too. And the major problem I have with this is that I'm on Sonic's side. He was trying to save them.
Yeah, you forgot the part where it was all Sonic's fault. I was saving you.
It's dialogue like that that doesn't make any sense because it's not just Sonic's fault, it's all of your goddamn faults! The only real interesting part of the game is Lyric and the Ancients. When he first appears, he seems like a legitimately cool villain. His first scene adds a sense of mystery to this story. What is his connection to Sonic? What is his motivation? Who are the Ancients? What is this tomb? It's a mystery I honestly wanted to know more about because admittedly it's one of the most interesting parts of the game. And I'm not going to say that these questions are all glossed over because unlike the Deadly Six, we do get the answers to these questions. And this is where the time travel comes in. The first crystal you find sends Sonic and Tails back into the past to confront Lyric. If you break this down to a Zelda-esque style, it's essentially the second dungeon of the game. You find a rogue AI that used to work for Lyric 1,000 years ago that rebelled against him. She claims you worked with her in the past to stop him. You need to find a map in the past to find where the Chaos Crystals are in the future, so she fires up a time machine that is just sort of in the room. Also, Shadow's there. So after a really forced boss fight, you find the past version of the AI who, and you have to remember this, is still working for Lyric at this point in time. But after you say hi to her and explain the situation, she just says,
"Processing. That makes sense."
"Ah!" So here you are running through Lyric's lab as Sonic and Tails are looking for a map until you find Lyric, stop his plan in a cutscene, and leave him there. Then you find the map, meet up with Knuckles and Amy back in the future, and continue on with your adventure, and that's all we get on Lyric. He has a few pieces of exposition dialogue in this, and that's it. I was expecting a more grandiose thing, or maybe traveling back into the past multiple times throughout the adventure in order to fully feel like we really stopped Lyric in the past. When I first played this game, it took me until the end to realize that was the unfinished business. And no, you aren't crazy. This is exactly the story between Mephiles and Shadow in Sonic 06. The whole sequence only lasts roughly half an hour in this 8 to 10 hour adventure. The whole sequence was underwhelming, especially when you do meet up with Lyric. The way that they just hastily introduce time travel and then immediately toss it to the side makes me think it was supposed to be a much larger focus of this game. Never again is Lyric's origin or characters revisited. Never do we really learn about the Ancients. I honestly find it more insulting than the Deadly Six from Sonic Lost World. At least when they were presented to me with no backstory, they didn't try to fake this interesting part of their characters. Like I said, I liked Lyric when he was first introduced, but the instant we go to the past, I just lose all interest in him because that's it. That's his whole character right there. And sadly, I feel that Lyric is the only one that actually gets developed in any way. What Big Red Button did not understand is the fact that we do not know these characters at all. Yeah, we have Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Eggman, they're all here. But what they forget is that this is a spin-off in a whole new world with brand new rules. We don't know how Team Sonic met. We don't know why Eggman hates them. We don't know why this adventure is going on. It honestly makes me wonder why they didn't just connect it to the main series. The game just wants you to pretend that you know who these people are, but that defeats the purpose of making a spin-off. The writing is also very hit or miss. It does not have the same writers that are doing the mainline franchise or any of the people that went on to write the show. So it tries to have this more serious tone that would fit this sort of brand adventure, but since it needs to connect to this cartoon that is honestly really funny.
Dude, is that Tomatopotamus too?
That's the best one in the entire series! Tomatopotamus never worked in 3D.
Game companies always ruin their beloved franchises.
And they never should have changed the color of Tomatopotamus's leg.
They just throw in random jokes in sections that make the pacing feel awkward.
Hey, it's the turtle guy. Hey, are you about to plant your crops?
Why, yes. I have these boysenberries right here.
Are you sure they don't say poison?
Why, you are right. It does say poison.
The game was always being marketed as some sort of prequel to the show. Some of the commercials for the game even included Styx the Badger as a part of the main team. She is a part of the main team in the show, but in the game she's just an NPC that you completely forget about after you first meet her. We never see Lyric again in the show or the events of this game even mentioned. And that kind of inconsistency isn't even just regulated to the story. Compare a lot of the environment and design work in the game to the design work of the show. The show keeps everything very bright. It's very industrial, but it's also unique because almost all of the sets are built with this natural material like trees. In the game there's some of that, but more of it is this generic ancient civilization stuff. I can't see this game happening in the same world as the show. This show also has more static animation and flatter textures that come off as more of a 2D cartoon done in a 3D space. But in this, the characters are all highly detailed as they could be and are animated fairly fluidly in cutscenes. While both styles work for what they're trying to accomplish, I can't see them happening in the same world, which is the whole point of a goddamn prequel. But even then, the hub worlds feel empty. They are so gigantic, and Sonic and his friends run really slow. Like, I actually miss the run button from Sonic Lost World. It reminds me of Sonic 06 with how boring and open these hubs are. Either Sonic and the gang needed to go much faster, or the hub worlds needed to be much smaller. A lot of the hub world feels like it keeps repeating, and it makes it really hard to figure out where I am on the map. There also aren't a lot of people to interact with, and the ones that you do normally just ignore you for a majority of the game until you complete more of the game, so that they can give you a side quest. You can also tell which characters had their designs taken from the show or which ones were made specifically for the game. Fuck, there's so much more I need to cover, but I just need a small break. Just watch this ad so that I can have some time to myself, or if you have an ad block, enjoy this dip to black. I just need a minute.
This is an artistic representation of how Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric handles its own frame rate.
Always drops frames. The game just is not done. The CryEngine really does have problems rendering on the Wii U. While the game looks okay on the gamepad itself, it's because it's playing only in standard definition. On an actual TV in HD, the game looks like a PS2 game that got more advanced lighting. The models themselves look jaggy and animate weirdly. And while the cutscenes look okay and honestly seem more well animated the further you get into the game, anytime there's a moment of in-game dialogue, it just looks creepy and unfinished. Same goes for the hub worlds. While the dungeon areas look okay, the game looks poorly done and rushed together. This is one of the reasons why the game just feels like an eyesore. Look at how boring this looks. There are also times the engine itself just also broke. Sometimes animations just don't play. Sometimes cutscenes just stutter and skip frames. Sometimes the draw distance is just terrible. It's amazing how there's always just going to be something new every 5 minutes or so. The game does have a co-op mode where one person plays on the TV and the other plays on the gamepad. But for some reason, the game starts to look even worse once you do this. The game loads lower res textures, the frame rate drops even more, and the lighting just sort of goes away. Like, I understand there was a lot of work that had to go into making the CryEngine also work on the Wii U gamepad, but if I'm doing single player, the game looks fine, even with the game mirroring itself on the gamepad. And what people don't realize is that this isn't a mirror of what's going on in the TV. The Wii U renders a full version of the game for the gamepad as well as for your TV. Since it's already rendering 2 versions of the game, I don't understand why the co-op mode immediately makes the game look worse. Also be aware, I'm reviewing the latest patched version of the game. Apparently that was a thing I was told to mention. The music is honestly something that is forgettable. Like Sonic Lost World didn't have anything particularly special, but dear God, here the music just feels stock. Another big departure from this game were the character redesigns, and honestly, I like them. I grew accustomed to these designs because they sort of had this modern quality to them. I'm not saying that they're better than the original designs, I do prefer them honestly, but the backlash that these characters got when they were first introduced, I feel was unwarranted. And to be fair, they look far better in the game than they did in the original trailer. And another thing is the voice acting. Minus the voice actor for Tails, everyone keeps the same voices since the transition in Sonic Colors. And they honestly have always done a good job portraying these characters. While I feel they have more chances to shine in the actual show, I can't say that they give a bad performance here. But I do promise that by the end of the game, you will hate these characters talking. The in-game dialogue gets repeated and repeated with no end in sight. I praised this sort of back and forth in Sonic Forces, and I even enjoyed hearing Sonic reacting to stuff like in Sonic Unleashed. But whereas those games sort of made you feel like it was more of an adventure, or in Sonic Forces' case, further the plot, this is just pointing out the obvious. I hope you like hearing the word bounce pad, because the years of therapy I need to get rid of that memory will cost me a hell of a lot more than the $20 this game did. It's like these kind of things are cute when they first happen. Yeah, Sonic, it is like this road was built for you. That's pretty funny. But after the 15th road that was built for him, you want to strangle him to death. If every location had their own sort of dialogue and flavor text, I honestly think it would be okay. But you'll be hearing the exact same things constantly, with no way of turning him off. It's just one more thing that makes this game go from a mess to a garbage fire. And I've gone this long without even mentioning the gameplay itself. The people back at Big Red Button kept showing off their pedigree, saying that they were mostly ex-Naughty Dog developers. Rise of Lyric plays like a beat-em-up with elements of puzzle solving and platforming mixed throughout. The combat tries to be the central focus of the game, and let me tell you, this gets old quick. You can play as all 4 characters of Team Sonic, each one with a sort of special ability. Sonic has a spin dash and a homing attack, Tails is a ranged fighter and has various robots around, Amy uses her hammer for heavy hitting as well as having triple jumps, and Knuckles does the most damage and can drill into certain areas and climb certain walls. These abilities are sort of built into the level design of each of these dungeons, but these tend to be very bare bones as well. The pattern usually goes combat section, puzzle section, and never really evolves from this until you reach the boss at the very end. And to make it worse, the game's mechanics never evolve past what you're introduced with. None of the characters learn new abilities, get new combos, or get upgraded in any real way. There are these little stone tablet things that you get from side quests that upgrade you, but I never noticed any sort of improvement to my abilities while I'm playing with them on. Like I said earlier, Styx the Badger appears as an NPC and she can upgrade you, but again, none of them are really noticeable. The only one I would really say would be beneficial is more health, but guess what? You need to buy Shattered Crystal on the 3DS in order to even think about upgrading your health. And since you cannot add to your combos or increase your skill set, what you have at the start of the game is what you have for the entire game. Honestly, when starting the game, it doesn't feel that bad. It feels like your standard starting moveset in any kind of beat-em-up video game. The big problem is as you move forward in the game, you don't improve, and that's when the boredom starts to set in. The game mechanics aren't fundamentally broken the same way something like Sonic 06 is. Instead, it's just simple, which to me is oddly worse. If gameplay is broken, it has more charm, there's more to make fun of. But if you're just boring, there is really nothing to enjoy about it because it won't surprise you in any way. In the game, rings act as health, and taking damage doesn't make you lose all of them. But the level design still acts like it's a Sonic game, so not having full health is pretty rare because the game will constantly throw rings at you. But even with death, there isn't a punishment, so I don't really feel any consequences the few times I do die. The game has a massive hub world and gives you many options for the various puzzles, but despite this, the game is very linear. The game feels like a railroad and doesn't really let you do anything interesting unless you're glitch hunting. It feels like it has the map design of a collectathon, but has the gameplay design of a linear beat-em-up. But the absolute worst part of this game are the Mach Speed sections. It's weird that Mach Speed is a dirty word in the Sonic franchise. It seems like the thing he should excel at. These sections are more or less linear pathways to get to the next dungeon. And this is also where the game runs into most technical problems. The game cannot handle the bombastic set pieces that occur and chugs along until the section is over. Also, have fun listening to those character barks! It sometimes just plays like a scripted sequence and I just run into everything because I don't need to put in the effort to actually play the game. And then there are also moments where you can just ignore it and turn around and keep walking. You're still regulating your own speed in these sections, which feels a bit weird. I don't know what to say or do because this game just hurts. It hurts! That's all I can say, is that this game hurts! Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric is just so dull. It front loads all of the story in the first 2 hours of the game and slows down to an absolute crawl for the other 6. The characters are about as fun as they've always been, but because this is a spin-off, we don't know any of them or their relationships in any way since they're technically new iterations of these characters in a brand new world. And the amount the game forces them to talk just makes them become cringy. Unlike other terrible games I've played, it's sad because this is at least fundamentally playable. It's boring and I never feel a sense of progression when I play the adventure. The game was made to tie into the show, but it doesn't even do that at all. So I can't even say that fans of the show will get anything from this game. It wants to be this brand new take of the Sonic universe, but doesn't put in the effort to fully commit to that idea. I would feel a lot better with the story if the characters had their original designs. At least then I'm comfortable with the world and story between these characters because I have so much history with them. But with the new world and new designs, the game goes out of its way to try to be something new. And don't get me wrong, I admire it for that. Sonic Boom the show has some of my favorite moments for each of these characters. I feel like this game could have greatly improved if it tried to be the prequel to that show it was originally set out to be. Having all of the characters meet in this game, showing the beginnings of the conflict with Eggman, all of this is stuff I would have loved to see and would have fixed the story. The main issue of the game is just that it feels rushed and unfinished. The mechanics needed to evolve, the engine needed to be more stable, the TV version of the game needed more polish, then the co-op definitely needed fixing. This game just needed more time. The skeleton of a game is there, but it never feels like it got out of the beta. This game just hurts. my god, I've spent so much of my life just playing these Sonic the Hedgehog games. Imagine if I actually went out and did something with my life. I could have been popular. I could have had a good job. But no, I decided to spend so much money on Sonic the Hedgehog. And it's just, what if I spent my money on a different mascot platformer? A platformer that never gave up. A character that always went on, no matter how far he fallen. What if that was my inspiration? What could possibly go wrong?
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe so you know when my next review drops, and be sure to join me as I stream all of Sonic Boom the next coming days. Also be sure to join my Discord and join the conversation. I'll see you next time.